Morning, morning. Probably pretty late for a lot of people. Want to talk about a few things. Wait till a couple people come in. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hey, Loretta. Bruce, what's happening? All right. So what I wanted to talk about was I was doing some driving and thinking about driving on Google Earth down Nova Scotia and thinking about these timelines. And I don't have my stuff well organized, which is really unfortunate. It's all in my head, and I kind of stream about things here and there, but I just kind of want to get the thoughts out there so that people are thinking possibly along the same lines and giving me the feedback. Hey, sister, what's up? And so when I was driving around, we know two things that I have kind of a problem with on the cameras and the timestamps. Two at least. Hey, Jadester, what's going on? Hillbilly. Haven't checked out your new video yet. So there's two videos that are in the timeline, which is an extraordinarily weak timeline if you're really thinking about it. I mean, how many events have occurred here? How many murders? How many different crime scenes? I heard today, now I haven't verified that there were 27 crime scenes, which is an extraordinarily high number. And for them to peddle this shitty timelines that they keep kind of putting out, and why they're doing the things that they're doing, how am I trying to put this together here? The whole onset of this began with Mr. Wortman. And again, this is my beliefs, but I feel they're fairly well-founded in research. The whole onset of this all began, first phone call, 10:01. 10:01, they get multiple calls from 911 to 911. They dispatch people from Bible Hill to RCMP to go out to Portapique Beach Road. The first thing that they encounter is a man and a woman walking down the street. The man is being helped by the woman, and he says to the officer who pulls up, he's been shot, and he says to the officer, "I've been shot by a man in a police car." And this was shortly after 10:26. So they knew right away that it was a police car. And then shortly thereafter, they started discovering bodies all over the road. They don't tweet out for an hour that they have responded to a weapons complaint, even though they have 13 dead bodies on their hand. Why are they doing this? Why are they using Twitter? And why are they failing to inform on even there? The reason that they're doing that, because they don't inform anybody until the next day that there's an active shooter in the morning, right? So we're talking about 10 and a half hours later, 10 hours later, that they say that there's an active shooter. Why do they say that? Well, that's because Mr. Wortman had already gotten out by this point. What they were doing was a catch-up. They were trying to cover their own ass as best as possible. So you put out the emergency alert, everybody's going to know about it. You have Twitter feed, well, nobody's going to really hear their notifications. They don't frankly care. Maybe we can kind of sweep this one under the rug as best as possible. We can kind of, I don't know, put together some fairy tale and people will actually believe this. And that was where they were coming from. It was a constant game of catch up and deception, and still is. So understanding this, right, is really important. This is the mindset that they're coming from. It's a PR campaign. Hey, Tracy, how's it going? Ozzy. It's a PR campaign, and it always was. It was to cover what the responsibility of the RCMP was. Did they know right away about Mr. Wortman? Yes, they knew about him years ago. Once again, somebody sent me an article today about neighbors informing the police about both weapons and assaults that were committed on the girlfriend. The police responded to those. The father had reported to the RCMP and had the RCMP confirmed that they had dispatched somebody about threats 10 years ago. He had been convicted of an assault in 2001. There is a claim by Mr. Wortman himself, Gabriel, deceased, that he told his father, I don't know why his father would lie about that he pulled a shotgun and Halifax PD responded to a robbery complaint. So the weapons were all known, so when Mr. Leather stands up there, Superintendent Leather, on the first day and says, no, he wasn't known to police at all, is an utter lie. Because they're trying to hide, but then things kind of peter out, little facts here and there. And then it's a game of catch-up. We'll confirm, yes, maybe. Equally, if you think about the fact that the PAL program, the FAC, whatever you want to call it now, PAL is the new way that they call it, personal acquisition license, right, for firearms, that's run by the RCMP. So it takes them days to input via keyboard, like that. Gabriel Wortman, there we go, done. We know whether he has a gun license or not. But it takes them days to answer, well, it's likely he didn't have a gun license. Likely. Do you see how you're getting deceived? Because they want it to go away. So, I'm going to try and put all the lies, because there are just a plethora of lies and incompetence, gross incompetence, and then beyond that, deception and cover-up that has gone on since the very, very beginning, as in 10:01 that day, because they could not admit what happened. So when I was looking at, we all know about the tape over at the Trading Post, right? The tape at the Trading Post with the cigar man, right, which was taken, and it has a timestamp in the corner, and it says 10:55. Now, the media, most of the media, leaked this tape. This tape was leaked, by Marshall, the daughter of the person who owns the booth. She lives in Ottawa. She leaked the tape on Facebook that showed Mr. Wortman changing his costume. And not his costume, it was a real RCMP uniform, real RCMP uniform. They admit that. It wasn't something fake. It wasn't something that he sewed a patch on here and there. It was 100% the genuine product, i.e. he got it from somebody in the RCMP. You can't buy that stuff on the market. I've shown you that before. You just can't, because they have a checklist. They have to turn in everything when they retire. Everything. And the only people that get a special exemption, you have to get straight from the commissioner, like the commissioner, the head of the RCMP. And that would be things like just the red serge and the felt hat, right? Not blue uniform. So somebody was helping him in the inside, and that's what part of this gigantic problem is. Not only was somebody helping him, but that they knew about that, and they let that go on. They knew about the cars. When they say they didn't know about it, they say the same sentence. It's a total cognitive disconnect to say to somebody, to say in a press conference, literally in the same sentence, it was widely known Mr. Wortman had police cars. But the RCMP, we don't have any evidence that the RCMP knew about it. Now, you have to listen very carefully to the words that they use. Another one would be they believe that he escaped at 10:35 through a field. Now, that's not really probable at all. And you also have to think here, if you lived in a neighborhood, put yourself in the shoes of the people that lived in Portapique. If there was shootings going on in your neighborhood, houses were burning, some people will run and hide in their basement, but some people will run and get in their car and try and leave any way that they can. Now, is it probable that the quote, this is why I'm saying be very careful with the wording they use. In hindsight, a witness believes that he saw a vehicle driving through a field. Now, cop cars don't drive through fields. I'm going to show you a little tape just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Cop cars don't drive through fields. I remembered watching Cops when I was younger, and I saw this one Cops episode. It came back to me the other day, where a police officer was chasing, the police cruiser was chasing a dirt bike, and the dirt bike went off the road and into a field, and the cop, being probably more city-minded than anything, decided, well, you know what, I'm going to chase this dirt bike through a field. I'm not going to have a problem. I won't get stuck. Well, he drove through the field, and of course, his car got stuck. It wasn't muddy. It wasn't rainy. It just got stuck because they have very low clearance, right? So, and then the car proceeded to catch on fire. And that's why it probably sticks out in my head, because, you know, I was laughing when I was a kid and this cop stuck in a field, and then his car catches on fire and the guy gets away. So, and that's reality. This is why farmers don't drive cars, right? They all use trucks because they need clearance. At my ranch, I can only go into the very beginning part of my ranch and park, and that's it with a car. The rest of it, I have to use a good solid 4x4 truck. And even then, I'm going to get stuck a lot of times. And that's just the nature of the land and reality of things. You can get tractors stuck in there. Hell, I've gotten tractors stuck there all the time. Well, not all the time, but a few times. Because vehicles are meant to drive on roads. Trucks are more inclined to drive on bad boys, are more better to drive on, trucks are more better to use in fields. So let's have a look at, I tried to find some videos of, let's see, where was that? I thought I had it lined up here. And I will try and remember to hit share screen when I've got it here. Here we go. Okay, so I'll just play a few clips of this. Right. So here we can see a car, cop car, right? Now, it's not particularly muddy. This is just a lawn. And the cop car has gotten, sorry, I'm going to change this just for a second. Give me 1 second because I've got the screens muddled up here. Excuse me. I want to have you guys over here so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. This cop car is stuck. As you can see, it is not, the field is not bumpy. It is not, this is a manicured lawn in a park, and this is what happens. And are the people going to be able to push the car out? Here we can see it's having some serious problems. Now it's ripping up the ground. It's getting very dirty. Mr. Wortman's car, of course, had no dirt on it at all. It was cleaner than a whistle.
They're all trying to push me out.
Okay, no, the pushing's not really working out too well there. Let's go back over to another one here. Another part to that video. Well, now they're going to have to come and get something that is a little bit more inclined to handle driving off-road to come and pull him out.
That's not really a title, but anyways. There's my dad in his big black truck.
Too bad it's just Chevy, but whatever. Some people don't have taste.
Police officer.
I'm totally teasing. Totally teasing.
Oh, actually, officer.
I am a Ford guy.
There's only one. It's not plural. I'm just going
and I'll just fast forward it. He has to put a tow rope on this and pull it out.
I know he won't, but still.
And this is just driving through on a lawn.
Yeah, put it on the hood.
Because cars aren't meant to go on grass, let alone bumpy fields. So the business that the RCMP is telling you about the cop car, and they eventually do get it out. But I mean, that's because it's not supposed to be. Sorry if I got this up here. Where did I lost my window. I lost my window. What kind of field was it? Well, if you look at Google Earth, there's not really any places for this person to Mr. Wortman to leave through. So it's complete horseshit they're feeding you. They're horseshit everywhere. The whole thing is horseshit. And I'm sorry to say that, but the facts just speak volumes. You don't tell people 10 and a half hours later, we have an active shooter after you have 13 bodies on your hands and the man has escaped your perimeter with multiple blockades, heavily locked down. The only way he's getting out is you're letting him through. Now he's gone off and shot other people, so you have to play catch up once again. Oops, sorry about that. Now we have an active shooter case. Didn't mean that, we forgot about informing you about that, even though we've known about it for 10 and a half hours, because we thought we could keep this one kind of on the down low. Portapique Beach Road. This is Portapique Beach Road right here. Okay? Sorry, bad driving. One way in and one way out. That would be here, where my small little mouse is. I should probably actually increase my mouse size at some point here. If you look at the geography here, first of all, it's not nice little manicured lawns. You're talking about bumpy topography. The only place that he can get out that I can see possibly is maybe he goes down way to the end here, and then he drives up this cut line in this field and up and through. That's the only other option is through here, but of course there's trees all around this area. Maybe he couldn't go through here even because this is all treed off. So there isn't any other way than that. Oh, he could maybe go through here. But again, you're thinking that the police here are sitting at the end of the road, number one, and this is not the only place that they were located. This is not the only place that they were located. The piece that CBC liked to clip out of Mr. Campbell's timeline on April 28, the second one that he did, he said 4 kilometers. Now, that's what they did. They had a 4-kilometer set of blockades. So he got through not just the one at the end of the road, but other multiple blockades. At least one, for sure. So that would be 2 blockades that he got indicated to go through. And nobody did anything about it. And then when he started murdering people, because he didn't leave at 10:35. Again, use logic here. They're saying to you he left by 10:35. I want you to think about this. 7 different crime scenes, 7 different places here, 3 houses he's burning. Okay, he's carrying accelerant, gas. One has to wonder how he's running up and down this road, kilometers, with a cop car with gas cans, and nobody notices, as in the police. That would be probably because they didn't really go in. They were afraid. Or they had orders. As Mr. Clinton Ellison seems to indicate, he did not get rescued until 4 a.m. Again, CBC deleted that. 4 a.m. He waited. Okay? So this business about that they were in there like a dirty shirt, that is why you have not heard. Once again, the media would tell you all the hero stories of the police. You haven't heard anything. The silence is deafening. Deafening. The only thing you've heard from is Mr. Ellison, who said, "Where the fuck were you? I needed you, and you abandoned us." So, anyways, I did want to talk about the timestamp, but I want people to kind of get in the frame of mind that this was a cover-up from the very beginning. It was minimizing of damage. So that was where the RCMP were coming from. That was why they used Twitter for plausible deniability, even though the emergency management, or it's not emergency management office, the EMO, Nova Scotia EMO, repeatedly, according to the Premier, indicated, and according to the RCMP, equally they agree, repeatedly contacted the RCMP and said, "Could you please activate the alert? We have it all ready. We're ready to go here. We've been ready to go for the whole time. We've got staff on." No, we'll get back to you on that one. And it was never done because they were trying their level best to build a defense, and they were using Twitter to do it. I hope that's I'm making sense when I'm saying that, because a lot of things I communicate very hard for people to understand. I think it's just the way that I think and communicate. But Twitter was plausible deniability. That was why they used it, because they were trying to cover their ass the whole entire time, and they were trying to control the narrative as best as possible. Once you indicate you activate the EMO, it's out of your hands. You can't really do a lot. Do you follow me? Now it's in the emergency management office. The RCMP can give them some details for sure, but it's going out. All of the people in Nova Scotia are going to know about it right away. And, there's going to be panic. And I think that, again, probably was also, you have to factor that in. So when I was thinking about the, hey Gary, when I was thinking about the tapes, because this tape business has been bothering me a lot. Lots of things have been bothering me. The tape being one of them. Tapes. So, and lack of surveillance tape. And so the cigar hut. Let's start with the cigar hut. The cigar hut, the tape was leaked out by Ms. Marshall, daughter of the owner of the cigar hut. She leaked it out in Ottawa. She accessed the tape via the internet. Okay, so this is you have to follow with me here. Security systems that are hooked up to the internet automatically set the time. To the best of my knowledge, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just like your computer. It uses IP detection and it knows what time it is automatically. So for the RCMP to say, well, actually, no, sorry about that. The time on that, the timestamp on that, which they cut out very conveniently, if you look at the picture, I'll share that with you. Let's go over to Darren Campbell. Speaking remarks. Maps. God, yeah, the stuff that they do is they cut out the top of Portapique Beach Road too, so you don't see. There's only one way in and one way out. This one. Here we go. Now this tape has already been out for days and days, because it almost got leaked right away. And then the RCMP once again are playing catch up. This is why they wanted everybody's phones, everybody's video, so that they can control what's going out. Now, let's go down to here, okay? Now, we've discussed this a few times, right? I believe. 1025 in Millbrook at the, what did they say? The Millbrook Fire Station, which is a total lie. It is at the cigar hut. There is no Millbrook Fire Station anywhere. And they use the time 1025 because at the top portion of this video clip here that they have is a timestamp, which some of the media cut out. That would be CBC, Global, CTV Atlantic did release it and did say 1025, and Global did eventually do the interview with Lloyd Johnson. And they didn't discuss anything about the time being wrong. Mr. Lloyd Johnson never said the time was wrong in the interview. And yet the actual picture, I'll take a still frame, play the video, here we go, has the timestamp on it. 10:54. Well, that's slightly different. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. Let's see, can I do this way? There. 10:55. As opposed to the RCMP, who is telling you it is 10:25. Half an hour off. But it's using automatic IP detection. So the time, to the best of my knowledge, is going to be correct. Maybe they manually went in and changed it, but logically, who would go in and manually change the time to be half an hour off? Okay, so this one bothered me. But it gets worse. Here, of course, they say it's 4 minutes off, which is okay, fine. Here, this one is deeply disturbing to me. More so even than the cigar hut. So I actually put together a montage of this, but so I don't know if you can see on the screen, probably not. This is taken from right beside, on the opposite side of the highway of the big stop, the end point of Mr. Wortman's escapade, right? This is across the highway. This says 1123. Let's bring up a better version of that so that you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. Now, they're saying to you that says 1123. Is that correct? Did I read that right? 1123. Well, it actually says 1031. So I thought to myself, this is an official government weigh scale. This is something actually that they use, all truckers have to use, and it has to be very accurate. They're kind of anal about that. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe it's not an official weigh scale, you know? So I drove around. I drove around on Google Earth. And when I drove around on Google Earth and I went to the actual weigh scale, well, wouldn't you know, this is who runs the weigh scale. That would be the RCMP. Very, very strange that the RCMP, running a government weigh scale, has the time out by 52 minutes. What are the chances that two cameras have the wrong times? That there is an hour and 52 minutes plus half an hour is an hour and 22 minutes. An hour and 22 minutes suddenly has been lost. Discrepancy. Do you understand? And how could it possibly be that this gray Mazda, Miss Gina Goulet's gray Mazda, increase this up here, right? Gray Mazda, which was the red Mazda, but then became the Mazda, even though it was the gray Mazda always? How is it that it's driving down here at 10:31, according to this clock? Because he doesn't die for another hour. So what is going on? The RCMP are blowing so much smoke up people's ass, it's not even funny. They are grossly, grossly, grossly negligent. And they knew that. They knew that from the very beginning. They knew that from another article leaked out today. Let's get that up here. This is utter bullshit. That's not going to work. Why does it like to do it that way? I just don't know. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Come on. Share screen. Here we go. Neighbor reported mass shooters, domestic violence, and weapons to the police. And Leather stands up there. The clip I have it's not very good. Right here, the first night. I don't know why the audio is so, it's very, very quiet. I'll have to run it through an audio processor, but let's hope it picks it up.
No, he was not.
Was the suspect known to the police? No, he was not. Well, Mr. Leather, I have real issue with that. I have real issue with the fact in 2001 he was convicted of assault. I have issue with the fact in 2017 Halifax Police Department had to respond to their own officers being locked in his parking lot. And multiple officers then were dispatched to deal with Mr. Wortman I have a problem with 2010 reported death threats and confirmation from Bible Hill Detachment that prompted by Paul Wortman's brother, Paul Wortman, the father, brother who retired RCMP, prompted his brother to phone the RCMP because Gabriel had threatened him to kill him, to shoot him. So Paul Wortman phoned the RCMP round about 2010. And he phoned back because he didn't hear anything. He phoned a few times, and the RCMP finally did talk to him and say, yes, we went out and spoke to him. And, well, he said that he didn't have any guns, and he said that he didn't threaten you. And Paul Wortman has come out publicly to Frank Magazine and said, if the RCMP had just looked, they would have seen. Maybe all these lives could have been saved. Now, he wasn't pointing the finger. That's what I'm saying. But he did say, perhaps lives, his was more tempered, perhaps lives could have been saved because Wortman would go around and tell people he had, quote, a hell of a lot of guns. And people knew this. He would threaten people. It was openly known. He would threaten people in Portapique. And Tara's brother was threatened by Mr. Wortman. And frankly, I suspect, and Tara does too, that's probably why he was killed. Oh, good. Now I'm going to get buffering issues. It wasn't a secret. The girlfriend had reported abuse. People had reported weapons on numerous occasions. The RCMP had responded. The Halifax Police Department had responded. This is the same mumbo jumbo that they feed you like, no, he didn't have any police cars. Everybody else knew, but we, the police department, the ones who actually, whose job it is to know these things, didn't know about it. Even though Mr. Walker has come out and said, Daniel Walker, Undertaker, along with numerous other people, have come out and said they were aware of Mr. Wortman's police cars. He would show it around publicly all over the place. And the RCMP, according to Daniel Walker, Mr. Wortman told him, Gabriel Wortman told him, yes, the RCMP had come out and said, please don't drive the car on the road. But he had 4 of them. And in my research, it seems as though 2 of them, not just 1, but 2 were fully marked. Yet they bullshit with you and tell you things like he bought them at an auction. Well, that may be on a couple of them. But the one that he drove was most certainly brand new. Most certainly brand new. He didn't buy it at an auction. That was a brand new car. Was it something that perhaps the RCMP stores division might have just lost? Like uniforms seem to go missing. Or maybe this is why they're not disclosing the origin and caliber of the weapons that were used. And I did say right at the beginning, they're going to say that the gun was used, Miss Stevenson, Constable Stevenson's gun was used to kill Gina Goulet. But you see, nobody can get an autopsy to the best of my knowledge. The RCMP have refused to provide anybody, which is contrary to the Fatal Inquiries Act in Nova Scotia, to the best of my knowledge. So when Tara requested a copy of the autopsy, she was denied because they said the RCMP are not releasing autopsies to families. Very strange, because this is a homicide. So they have to conduct a full, not just a partial, little bit, well, we can tell he died of a bullet wound. No, a very full and thorough forensic autopsy. And the RCMP aren't going to let anybody know what that is, because maybe you might be able to figure out from bullets still lodged in people's bodies that he may have used RCMP issued weapons. Now, this is a theory on my part. I could be very wrong, but given the amount of lying, gross, the amount of dishonesty that we're talking about here is disgusting. Disgusting. And for them to say that trust is very important to them, do you notice how they obfuscate on that kind of question? I believe the question was, Nova Scotians may have lost trust in the RCMP through this. What do you have to say to that? And they say, trust is very important to us. We've worked very hard to have Nova Scotians trust. No, the question was, you may have lost that. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to acknowledge it, number one? And what are you going to do to rebuild it? And they didn't answer that, just like they haven't answered hardly shit. And when they do, it seems a lot of things that they say is dishonest. And not only dishonest, but grossly dishonest. As in, they know that the timestamp on the fucking clocks is wrong. They know that there's no Millbrook Fire Hall. They know that they opened fire on Onslow Fire Hall, and still to this day have never apologized. This is the police department that represents Canada. This is the one that tourists come and buy those stuffed animals and little statues that we give to our family relatives who come from out of the country, because we're so proud of our cultural image, which has been completely smashed, because all it is about is protecting themselves. They didn't want to protect anybody that night, because if they had wanted to, they would have used the emergency management office. I'm sorry, whatever. I think I've got the acronym wrong. The EMO, the provincial body, to activate the Amber Alert, which would have alerted everybody. Perhaps people on Portapique Beach Road may have been saved. Perhaps people in the province would have been very leery of being pulled over, like Ms. Beaton, by an RCMP cruiser. But it wasn't, they didn't need until 6:30 the next day, as they so claim. 6:30. What's with the lag? Are you guys getting the lag? I think they're giving me the fucking shit. They'll probably ban this video too, but it's a good video. They didn't need until 6:30 the next morning from the girlfriend who apparently hid in the forest. Even though Mr. Ellison hid in the forest for 5 hours and he was treated for frostbite. Treated for frostbite. It wasn't hyperbole he was using. He was literally treated for frostbite. That's how cold he was. And I looked at the weather, and it was cold. And men generally fare a little bit better. So her story is very shaky. Why they hid her from the onset? Again, big red flag. It would be very easy to come out and say, listen, Mr. Wortman snapped. He got very angry at his girlfriend. He was angry at the party. He got upset. He took it out on his girlfriend to begin with. But again, if this was a domestic domestic assault, which again, they've come out and had to kind of poo-poo that one, because they initially said that, and then they're like, well, yeah, actually, most people are going to be like, if he was mad at his girlfriend, why didn't he kill her? Why was she able to run away with handcuffs, or however she was restrained? I've read handcuffs, I've read tied up. I believe it was handcuffs, into the forest when he lit the house on fire. She happened to escape. And it sounds like she may have had a cell phone. But they didn't want to say anything about the girlfriend. We have an important witness. See, confirmation, meaning they knew ahead of time. We needed confirmation from this important witness at 6:30 in the morning that he was driving the police car. But they're still not going to tell you for another 3 hours. I believe it was 9:30, 9:58, 9:58 that they tweeted out that he had the police car. So again, they sat on that fact, but they didn't sit on it for 3 hours. They sat on it since 10:30 approximately. But no more than that, they didn't just sit on it from 10:30 because they knew when this started. They said that Gabriel Wortman was likely the suspect. So they knew this ahead of time also. Do you see what I'm saying? And they knew about the cars for months before. So they were burying this for a very long time. And this bullshit about we didn't know it was Gabriel Wortman, why the fuck did you go to his dad's house at 5 o'clock in the morning? That's an hour and a half before the girlfriend apparently emerged from the woods, her little gallivant in the woods. And please forgive me, God, if I'm wrong on that, but it seems stinky about her story. Nobody would bury that kind of story. They would just say, well, listen, there was an assault that occurred on the girlfriend. We're not going to tell you her name. That makes sense. That makes total sense. Who wants to be doxxed in this kind of scenario? Nobody. She has a life that she's going to want to lead. But you could just say that. For privacy reasons, we're not going to release the girlfriend. But you see, there's lots of sketchy questions about that. The common law girlfriend who doesn't live with him, the common law wife of Mr. Wortman who doesn't live with him, but goes to parties with him. Or a little tidbits I'm going to drop here that may come out in the media. What about the house in Cape Breton that was surrounded by police? A female's house. A girlfriend's house. Just saying, just letting you know what kind people are sharing with me who do want honest and truthful accounting of what happened here. But she was his assistant. Yes, well, I mean, you work with the common law wife that's not your common law wife, that doesn't live with you. That's going to be your assistant. Not given Mr. Wortman's temperament. Y'all can work together. Equally, all of the financial crimes were very well public knowledge. Glenn Wortman's house, to which he sold to, who was it? Was it Lisa? The lady across the road who Mr. Wortman shot. Not his girlfriend, by the way. Many people like to say that he was involved with her. To the best of my knowledge, he was not. That's just a convenient that she had the same first name, but it's a different lady entirely. And she also, that's right, absolutely Aussie. Yeah, we've discussed the daily cruiser, the daily driver, according to, what was that, Nathan Staples, I believe, said that. That was in the Halifax Chronicle, I believe, also in the Globe and Mail. Daily driver. Sorry, I will rephrase that. It was in the Halifax Chronicle. Globe and Mail omitted the part about the daily driver. But they did say about the multiple cop cars. 2. To which we learned that there are 4. Which, thank you, RCMP, for being honest about that one. I don't know why they admitted that one. Everything that they say, I operate from a mind of lawyers, all lawyers. And so when you come into court and you lie in court one time, everything you say now is suspect. And the RCMP have very clearly been very openly and knowledgeable in being deceptive. It was very well, they knew what they were doing. It wasn't a mistake in any of these lies. They're not mistakes. They're very well thought out. Just like the RCMP statements are well thought out. And there's a lot of holes in them. I mean, where's this red car coming from all the time? Where's the red Mazda? I don't know what the red Mazda is. Why have you completely ignored your own Twitter feed? You've left the silver tracker in there. But I think the silver tracker is important because I think Mr. Weber may not have died the way that they say. In fact, if you want to hear my theory, at least on the third leg, and I think I've made that kind of clear, but I'm going to try and be as concise as possible. Mr. Workman changed at the trading post. He drove straight down to Gina Goulet's house. He never went to the turnoff and had this accident and shootout and flagging down Mr. Weber. He drove straight to Gina Goulet's house in the cruiser. He shot her dogs. He shot and killed her. He may have changed. He changed, it appears. And then he took her car. And it fits. It fits the timeline. What doesn't fit is Weber, Stevenson, Morrison, head-on collisions, shootouts, multiple times that bullets are... Because if you listen to Darcy Sack says that when 2 cars are burning, she hears gunshots. And yet we know that there were gunshots prior because there's only 1 car burning and there's gunshots then. Clearly, because Stevenson is apparently dead. And there's a body lying on the ground that you can quite clearly see that they drag out behind the SWAT vehicle. So what is the second set of shooting? Things that make you go, But it doesn't fit the timeline because 15 minutes. The man would have had literally 15 minutes. Could be tops 18 minutes. Given their entire timeline to shoot Mr. Morrison, shoot Stevenson after a head-on collision, shoot Mr. Weber, take Mr. Weber's car, drive down to Gina Goulet's house, shoot the dogs, shoot her, change his clothes, find the keys to her car, and drive down to Enfield. 15 minutes, people. 15 minutes. It doesn't make sense. Could be ammo. Yeah, Gary, I'm not discounting. It could be tires blowing up. I don't know. I'm not saying, but it sounds like people have come forward and said they heard gunshots at 2 separate times. Right? And it's just a theory. It's just a theory. But what isn't a theory is the dishonesty. What isn't a theory is the cover-up from the very, very beginning. They got that phone call and they're like, oh shit, this is going to go sideways. It has gone sideways. And they responded. They hear right away, cop car. And they know it's Wortman because they know cop car equals Wortman. It doesn't equal Jamie Oliver. It doesn't equal any of the other residents because on Port Pick Beach Road because they didn't have cop cars. But Mr. Wortman did. Wonder how much witnesses got paid to wipe their phones and memories. I don't think it's about payment so much. I think the initial appeal that the police make to people is we're conducting an investigation. They like hiding under this guise, right? Do you see how they're using this one? You're never going to hear the answers. It's going to take a very long time. We're conducting an investigation into a dead man. The only thing that they could possibly investigate here is the weapons. But I think they're using that as cover too. So we need to not release any details. Please keep quiet about that so we can do our investigation. Please don't say anything to the media. Please. And I've reached out to a few people because some people have shut down. Sorry, I have. Steve has on my behalf. Very awesome of Steve. Very awesome of all of you to provide details of people and things like that. So I can get a hold of certain people, or Steve can. And he's tried to reach out and he has gotten a hold of some people. And some people talk and they'll talk for a little bit. They shut down all of a sudden. And they don't really want to talk anymore. Now, I suspect the second part to that is, please don't tell anybody what we're investigating here because it's going to compromise the investigation. It makes logical sense in the brain. But it doesn't make logical sense, the cognitive disconnect, because you're investigating somebody who's dead. Doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. Nobody else is involved in this incident, according to the RCMP. So you can tell facts, lots and lots of facts. The second part to their two-pronged approach on shutting people down after they've seized material, right? Because they ask everybody to turn in the video, turn in the cell phones, right? Numerous appeals. Please contact us. We need to know everything we can. Mr. Ellison, I haven't gotten my cell phone back. My family is even trying to understand if I'm still alive, but they won't give me my cell phone back. Wonder why? Because they're going through your phone and wiping everything. Oh, well, we have to keep that. It's evidentiary. The second part is, if you do talk, we're going to threaten you with obstruction. We're going to charge you. Just like they threatened Tara. Right? Now, the threat wasn't that bold, but it was, listen, Tara, you've said some things here as a person who would be naturally upset and grieving and in complete shock. And she was upset and said some things that probably she shouldn't have. but they weren't terrible. And they phone and say to her, we have enough here right now to charge you with something. You don't do that to people who are traumatized. She lost half her family. But you see, this is how they silence people. It's not about money. You don't have to reward people. You just tell them no. You're helping us out. You're doing such a huge favor to all Canadians by not saying anything. No, what you're doing is you're helping them cover up their gross negligence causing death times 22 is what you're doing. So I hope people who are aware of details in Nova Scotia choose to share those with other people as well as the RCMP. Personally, I would like to know. And there are great people out there doing tons and tons of work. People who are driving the route, timing things. People who are going up to Portapic and taking pictures. And they know who they are, and I'm not going to dox them. There are lots of people who send me articles every day. Because why? They want the truth. They don't want a police force that they're not proud of. They don't want a police force that they're afraid of. Can I trust this police officer is really a police officer? Do they mean me harm? Are they going to cover up an incident in which my life could be threatened just to protect their own? That was why you had the construct of Heidi Stevenson from the very beginning. It was the hero narrative. They needed it. They needed people to feel pity and sorry and remorse and guilt for the RCMP, because guilt forgives. Guilt doesn't ask a lot of questions. It's psychological warfare all the way through. You don't clean up crime scenes with backhoes while firemen are still putting out fires. Cleaning up Gina Goulet's house, you know how fast that was done? It was done at the very most within 4 days. That's pretty fucking amazing. And you know what? Zero media got any pictures of it. If you find any information on anything at all, I want you to reach out to me. I am on Twitter. You know, I don't think I have the details listed in the box below on this video right now, but I will put them in. I want you to reach out to me on Twitter because I do want to hear from you. And I apologize to people who I haven't gotten back to or whatever. I'm really trying. I really am. But it isn't to say that I don't read the stuff. And I'm trying not to go ultra tinfoil. I'm trying to just stick with facts. Facts that they know they are at fault for. Facts like, we didn't know about him. We didn't know about the cop cars. The times are all wrong. The Twitter line, that's a real problem. Mr. Weber and the Silver Tracker, that's a serious fucking issue. Because I think Mr. Weber may have been collateral damage. Which is really sad. And the reason I hypothesize that is because if they're willing to open fire on their own, and we know that to be fact, Not tinfoil, not conspiracy. We know that to be fact. The Onslow incident happened because there was a police officer there and he was wearing a traffic vest. And they knew Mr. Wortman was some distance away, even if they had read their own Twitter line. And yet they still went to a fire hall where there are innocent civilians, being EMS, fire officials, and one of their own, an RCMP officer, who they opened fire on because they didn't know their ass from a hole in the wall at this point. They're chasing down anything and everything. And if you got stuck in the middle, God help you. Heidi Stevenson, Chad Morris, Mr. Weber, big problems. He didn't put the vest on until Millbrook. Absolutely. Absolutely. Where is Weber's truck? Thank you, Mr. Money. You got it, sir. You got it. Where is the silver at? Do you only... Who is it? The friend of the family. The councilman. About anything about Mr. Weber's story. That's it. Real fucking hearsay in court. You can't regard anything that comes out of that man's mouth as evidentiary. It doesn't count worth a shit. What does count, and would have more weight, would be the tracker, the location of it. But you're never going to find it. Where was it? Look at the Twitter line, people. Look at the Twitter line. I can't keep emphasizing that one enough. Look at the Twitter line. 11:24. That's 2 minutes before they say they shoot him. They say they have confirmed the silver tracker. And it's way the fuck up north. How can you have a man who's just about to die in Enfield versus a tracker in Enfield in a gray Mazda 3 car hatchback? And have a silver tracker far north, like that's approximately 20 some minutes away at speed limit, which is 100 kilometers an hour. A silver tracker confirmed 2 minutes before the man dies. The 2 minutes he would be having a confrontation with the police, right? What are you talking about? Silver tracker. They say he shot Shepard in the face and spine, but he's doing fine. Again, I'm familiar with reading these types of stories for years. And I would say you have to be very careful with the emotional manipulation that goes on. Obviously, I feel terrible for everybody involved in this, including lots of great officers who are getting tarred with some very bad apples in their organization. But they aren't saying anything. I do feel badly for the dogs. I do feel badly for Heidi Stevenson's family. I feel badly for anybody that this touched, because they're all victims. But victims of what? Negligence, incompetency, and deception. And not to the benefit of the people who employ them, the taxpayers, the people they are sworn to protect. That's you and me. It's all about saving them, because they cannot lose that position of authority that they have built very far and above, beyond what their job calls for. We live in a police state. We live in a police state. And that's not right. We should be living in a state of do unto others as we should do unto ourselves, or do as we would want others to do unto ourselves. You earn respect. Honesty is a value. If you make mistakes, you're human and you admit them. And you make changes so you don't make them again. And you're not far and removed from the people that you protect. You are their friend. You are their ally. You aren't their enemy. This is not adversarial. This is not a position of authority. But this is what's happened. And I go above and beyond saying it's just some bad apples. And I don't want to, I never want to diminish the amount of responsibility that I hold for these people. So it looks like, oh, it's just some bad apples. It's really fucking bad apples. These people are evil. They need to be removed from their position immediately and should be put on trial for incompetency of doing their job in any criminal charges that could possibly be laid. To which I think there would be a few, and I haven't researched that at all, but I'm sure. Give me some time on that one when this is all a little bit further along. But there are charges, and those people should be charged, and the federal government should equally be held responsible, because they are the ones that are in control of that, or they should be. There are 4 cameras in big. Do you want to see Mr. Penny? I'll show you some other pictures here. When I was driving around, I found some interesting things also about the cameras. There are a lot of cameras in Nova Scotia. A lot of cameras. They're all over the place. The route that Mr. Wortman took, I can't seem to find. I'm not very familiar. I'm going to try and coordinate with somebody who lives in Nova Scotia so that they can kind of look at the route that the RCMP are proposing, which is really haphazard at best. Look at the way that they show you that he drives. Fucking abhorrent. Where are we at here? This is the kind of evidence that they show. Is this it? What route is he taking? You've got all kinds of shit marked all over here. Why is it marked all over the place? This is the highest technology that you can have. This is what our taxpayer dollars pay for. Google, Earth, get out of here. I'm sure you can erase some of this, but it's to confuse. This is what, again, the psychological bullshit that they're fighting on your mind. Let's look at something else, some other pictures I came across. Where was it here? Was it this? Look at all these cameras on 102. Do you see how many fucking cameras there are here? Unbelievable. And they're going to say that they don't have any footage of him? Oops, sorry. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 cameras at least right on this one post, or these 3 posts, sorry, on highway, I believe this is 102. 8 cameras. And yet the one picture that you're going to show is the one that you have the wrong fucking time on, and you just don't even acknowledge it. Do you see? They skate right over both of them. Oh, don't, it's not like, look at the time. You can see the time there. It says 10:41, but actually the time is wrong. They just say, this is where he was at 11:23, and hope that your brain doesn't actually click in to look at the clock and be like, that's 10:31. That's an official government way station. They have to know the time exactly. He did go back to, sorry, what's going on here? Where is it here? Sorry if I got this highway wrong. No, I think I do have it right, isn't it? See, that's a shitty picture. Is it this one? No. Which one is this? Map 11. Map 8. 6. Map 11. See, like, they don't have press packages. It's just a bunch of mess. I think this is 102. Is that correct? I believe this is 102. After he gets off 224. He's on the 102. Yet, there's tons and tons and tons of cameras. And they don't have any pictures. Very strange. And I'm going to go through because I have gone through the Halifax transport. They have a website that has cameras. Or sorry, Nova Scotia highway cameras. But I did do a little bit of driving around, and I can't seem to find any on his route, but I'm going to have to trace his route a little bit better. They have a list of cameras, because there's quite a few. But they don't seem to be on his route. Then I also searched other cameras, just live feed cameras. And I did find one that was down at a Nissan dealership. I mean, there's going to be a lot of surveillance. Tons. We live in a world that's surveilled. Aren't those cameras. The cameras by the truck scales between Halifax and Enfield. This is right across from Enfield. Sorry, I'll drive you over there just so that you can, have a boo at that. If you go to the big stop, why is this not saved? This is interesting. Oh, it's because I'm not using. Okay, so if you look across the road, right here, this is the big stop. Hopefully you can kind of see. That's the big stop right there, right? This was the gas bar that he was at, over here on the top right-hand side. And if you go across on the 102, this is the way station. And if you put the guy down there, you can see what I'm talking about. And this isn't a piddly piss pot trucks. It's not some private scale or some optional one where you do some weigh-in crap. This is a fucking official one. Heavily used. Right just north of Halifax. Right? And here is the sign. RCMP. Where's the camera? That's an interesting question. I'm going to actually ask somebody if they're willing to drive down there and find it, because it should be, if you see the power pole located behind this truck here, it should be over here. And I've looked and I can't seem to see it. So I don't know if it's a new addition or it's just my eyes and I can't seem to see it. It should be up in this area here, because it's looking down towards, and you can see the stop sign, and the stop sign's at an angle. Let's see if we go back to that picture. Excuse me. So that's, but it's clearly the same building. And if you drive around, like, you can see all the things are the same. You can see the signs are the same. And if you look across the highway, drive up a little bit more, you can see the sign right in the background. It could be, I don't know. It should be over here looking down at the stop sign. Or am I missing something? Have you noticed? I think the cameras are there before the entrance of the scales, a bit further south towards the airport. There's another funny whole saga to this story is Halifax PDs, and there's orders to stand down. You agreed, Mr. Moneypenny, on my thinking, because the stop sign is over. We can see the stop sign where the truck is, and then if you look at the picture, you see the stop sign, and then the across the highway, and it looks like some trees have been cleared out and things, kind of. These trees, but I suppose when you're up high, you're not going to actually see these trees, so you can see the sign across the highway. Have I noticed? Hey Max, what's up, buddy? Weed. All you good people, still awake. Working hard, are you? Working hard, helping everybody get the facts. Have you noticed the still on the still of the video from the cigar shop footage that it looks like there is a yellow stripe on the side of GW's pants. Was it Photoshop? There is no, to the best of my ability, I can't see. If anybody can see a yellow stripe on his fucking pants, all more power to you, because I certainly don't see one through this video. There is no demonstration of a yellow stripe. There's a moment where there seems to be a possible light. Do you see? I've gone through, I've blown it up, and I can't see anything. There is a second where there's a little bit of light. But you can clearly see like how yellow the vest is, and the stripe is very noticeable. It's a big stripe on those pants, like very clear. You work for the police. Yes, Ozzy, I believe you were in, did you say you were in corrections? Oh, oops. Sorry, I didn't share the screen. That was kind of dumb of me, wasn't it? Let's go back. Cass, you have to have a Seamusism, you know, like it can't be a video without me fucking up on the tech side. You can't really see a yellow stripe on these pants anywhere in this video, but you can clearly see when the yellow vest comes out right away. I mean, it's pretty clear. As clear as the day is long. Just like I would say, you know, you look at the pictures that they try to furnish with you, and say, oh, listen, these are, yeah, see, like I've blown up the pants, and you can't see any yellow stripe. It's just not there. I mean, the quality of the photo is really crappy, and I'm sure just because I don't have the technology to at my disposal like the police do. But they want to tell you that the time on the clock is wrong. They don't even tell you that, though. They're just like, oh yeah, your brain didn't see it. Don't worry about it. You're retards. You'll totally miss what's going on here. Because where is it here? The pants. Where did I put that? Here we go. Pants. This is the official photo. Official photo of the pants. Not a look-alike pair of pants that they found somewhere. This was what they apparently recovered from Gina Goulet's house. And they're fucking immaculate. The pleat's all fine. There's no dirt on these. There's no soot from fires. There's no blood. There's nothing. They look brand new. Even the back of the pants isn't worn at all. Like there's no sign of wear. These are brand new pants. Strange. How tall is that Millbrook guy? The cigar hut guy? I'm not sure if I'm following. No, the pants, Ozzy, were found at Gina Goulet's house, along with the shirt, which was, again, very clean, and the vest and the jacket was recovered at Gina Goulet's house. What the welding shop guy recovered was very odd. He recovered a pair of parade boots, the high boots, and a holster. Very odd items to recover. But I don't know. Maybe Boardman thought he was going to go on parade. But they said in an interview, a holster. They found a holster and also a pair of parade boots, which was strange. Strange find, but I mean, who knows? I frankly don't believe their bullshit story about that, because that, again, what they're using to tell you that this man was in that place was the Debert photo. And if anybody in their fucking godforsaken minds can tell me that this is for sure Workman's car, when you've got a major crime going on and there are cops flying around every fucking where, and there's no timestamp, and you can't tell whether that's a taxi cab versus a car, what day it is even, because it doesn't have the date stamp on it. They're just going to tell you, well, listen here, you believe us on this one. We've fucked it all up and lied to you a ton, but we're telling you, this is him driving at nighttime. Because this piece of evidence is the evidence that keeps them from saying, we let him out and he was running amok for hours on Portapique Beach Road. Not 34 minutes to burn 3 houses down with accelerant, to be driving up and down the road, to be shooting 13 and killing 13 people, injuring 1, burning up 3 cars, and driving through a field in 34 minutes. Are you out of your fucking mind? Are you seriously? Like, go do it yourself. Do it. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, don't do it, but you can't. You can't do something like that for 34 minutes, in 34 minutes. Just like you can't do all the things that they're saying got done in 15 minutes, even with their fucked up time. We'll back that clock up half an hour. Don't worry about that one. It'll fit the story a little bit better. No, that clock is done by IP. It's official. It does it automatically, just like your cell phone when you cross into a different province. You know what I'm talking about? That's using GPS. Or your car. It's the same principle. You take your computer, you go plug it in a different country. You go travel. It's not using GPS. What it's using is the IP signal. You plug it in, bing, it knows what time it is. If you want to change that, well, then you have to go in and alter it manually, but it does it automatically. I'm going to contact the surveillance company, IONET. It's a sub company of another company, but RNet or something like that. But to the best of my looking into things, that's what it is. It's automatically detecting it. It's clearly attached to the internet, because Ms. Marshall in Ottawa, the owner's daughter, was the one that leaked it. That's how you know these things, because people leak them, not because the RCMP tell you. They only do after the fact. Oh, somebody said something. Now we've got to try and talk about that. Oh, somebody talked about the police cars. We got to talk about that one. Oh, it's constant and playing catch up, which is logically totally the wrong way, because it should be the other way around. The police know everything, which they do, obviously, but they're going to tell you everything. Not everything, probably. But in this case, there's nothing to protect other than their bullshit stuff about the guns from the States. But I'm telling you, I feel fairly confident in that. I'm going to say about 90% that the guns that were used were RCMP issue guns. And that's what they're hiding, because their own guns that they somehow gave to this man killed people, just like the uniform, just like the car. They show him arrive in Debert but not leaving. These photos that they have, honestly, Mr. Moneypenny, they're absolute crap. They mentioned you said that the other day. Who said that? Who said I said something the other day? Yeah, you can't tell which direction this is traveling. Somebody did track down maybe where this photo is. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I've forgotten about that piece. But again, you don't know what direction it's traveling. Could be traveling south towards Portapique. What are you talking about? That's another cop responding. It's looking around for people. It could be a taxi cab. I don't know what the fuck that is. But it sure as hell ain't evidence that he was out of Portapique. You've got this, and you've got some boots in the morning and a holster. And that's your guarantee. Oh, you know where this is? These poles seem to be kind of a telltale. Kind of a telltale. It might be able to be found. All 3 picks, 1 boot. It was 1 boot that was found. Who mentioned that I said something the other day? I'm pretty sure that the RCMP watch what's going on over here, because they know that other people are kind of watching too. Even though, sadly, and that's the only thing that I ask, other than obviously your help and your viewership, is please try to spread the message, because the numbers are going down. And they're pumping everybody full of the fucking killer bees and all kinds of other stuff very purposefully to keep people from looking at this one. And if we let this one get away, it just gets worse. Just like it did with the Quebec Mosque one, it gets worse as we go along. There's no accountability. And accountability is vital and imperative in our system. That's the way it's supposed to be built. You talked of going around with gas cans in Portapique. Yeah, Portapique. How does he lighting the fucking houses on fire? I'm like, well, he's got to have gas cans. You can't just light houses on fire. Yeah, I've got a lighter. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll light my house on fire. Here we go. I'm lighting it on fire. You see? You see how effective it is? It doesn't work. You have to have gas. And you have to dump it all over the place. So there again is my point that I'm trying to get clear. The man is literally driving up and down Portapique Beach Road, and he's lighting houses on fire, and he's got gas everywhere. And where's the RCMP? You think that they would notice a man running around with gas cans? No, I certainly would. And Mr. Ellison indicated that he heard explosions and gunshots throughout the evening. So where were the RCMP? I don't think they really came in, is what the story of that is. I think they waited until the armored personnel carrier came, like Mr. Ellison said. And then they went in, because they were protected. They were protected. Now, I'm obviously not asking people to go throw themselves in front of a bullet, but it is their job. That's why they get paid fucking oodles of money. $60,000. $60,000, and that's your base pay. Mr. Say if you take Mr. Campbell, superintendent, he's getting paid $163,000 or $183,000 a year. They get paid a lot of money. And yes, it's dangerous, and yes, it's risky, and yes, I'm appreciative for the job that they do. But That is their job. If I'm a welder, I'm expected to weld. I have certain responsibilities. It isn't, if you're a police officer, you can choose to not protect the people around you, and you can choose, well, listen, I'm not feeling safe here, so I'm not gonna do anything. You're trained in that. And that's why you get paid a lot of money. And that's why you're given all kinds of firepower and all kinds of fucking gizmos and shit. They held back because Wardman wasn't alone. Again, I'm not gonna, Ozzy, I can't, and you know that. We've got to all kind of stay on the same page. It is worthwhile going into that stuff maybe down the line. Let's just try and prove the negligence so that you can get them in court. We're already partway there with Mr. Beaton suing Wortman. The next stage to that is a class action suit, which funnily enough, the lawyer hinted at. His lawyer, Mr. Beaton, from Patterson Law. I forget his name. The lawyer indicated that other suits could be folded into this. He's saying without saying. And I spoke to a lawyer down there for Tara. Well, I spoke to a few. And one of them right away said to me, when I described just initially why I was calling. I was calling on behalf of somebody. And he said, if you're calling on behalf of suing the RCMP, I can't represent you. Or your friend. I can't represent them. So the thought is already ringing around in lawyers' heads. And I'm hoping that there's going to be somebody good step up, and I'm hoping that some of the families are going to get together here. This is not well organized on that front, I don't think. But again, I'm just an outsider looking in, but I don't think the families are, I think they're very compartmentalized intentionally. They're being kept at arm's length from one another. And what they need to do is come together as one kind of unified body and have the representative plaintiff, essentially, and speak as one unified body, and they will ask questions and they will get the answer, and they will all get the same answer. And then hopefully there'll be a lawyer who will step up and say, listen, I'm willing to take this case, and hopefully there's going to be a bunch of us, and I'm including myself in there. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is to crowdfund a lawyer to sue. Let's get them under deposition, let's get them in discovery, and let's ask them the hard questions. And if they want to fucking art and fart around, it's going to be publicly known. God help me. I know that they're going to put in all kinds of publication bans. The reason that they're sitting in there in court right now is and fighting to keep people from knowing their search warrants. Does that make sense? Like, just think about it for a moment. They don't want you to know what they know about a dead man. Why? Who's it going to reflect badly on? A dead man? A dead man who is a mass murderer? You don't want to disparage his name? Oh my goodness. No. It would be, we don't want people to know how we fucked up. Big time. If confirmed, weapons, they were told of weapons in 2014, province-wide class action. Yes, Mr. Moneypenny, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think private citizens who are not affected by this, obviously it would carry a lot more weight if the families were involved. But I mean, I understand their position. I really do. But I do understand your point is very good. Yeah. People in Nova Scotia, average citizens could sue because they could say, well, listen, I felt this has left me feeling I'm in jeopardy. But it would have a lot more weight if it was coming from the families. And frankly, those are the ones that should be compensated. And who's compensating them? Us. We are. And frankly, I think that's a great use of taxpayer dollars. It's much better than using it for Aga Khan's turtles in Tanzania. Or the billions that we dump out of this country. I mean, I used to go through Foreign Affairs and CEDA and watch how much money, like each one of the reports that they were dumping money out of this country, and it would fucking make your head spin. I did that little tweet, I think I played it one night for people in here, about how much money they were spending just in 2016 outside of this country. And it was billions. And nobody knows where the fuck it goes. It just disappears. It's zeros. It's all fake anyways, but what isn't fake is your hard work. And you have to pay for that, right? Why? I'd rather pay for a police force that can do the job and is going to protect us and is honest and is respectable and is polite, respects the citizens, just like the citizens should respect them. They hold them in high esteem. Yes, sir. No, sir. Ma'am, we understand. We're working for you and we're working together in all this. People, it is an adversarial position. The girlfriend, the protection is very strange. Very strange. Signatures, I don't know. You know, the signatures never do anything. And this is why I've been pumping lawsuits for years. Literally, lawsuits for years. I've shown people how you can sue government officials if you have enough evidence. You can do it. I can do it. Anybody can do it, right? But it requires money and it requires good legal representation. But signing pieces of paper and protests, I mean, I did it for fucking years. And I'm tired of it. They don't care. They never have. It doesn't matter. They can read all the public polls. You can have the Toronto Sun and every newspaper in this country, the Globe and Mail and the National Post, saying that 71% of Canadians disagreed with the Kage settlement. And that makes no lick of a difference because he didn't do it one time. He did it 4 times. Of course, people don't know about the other 3, but I do. I made a video about all that. The other settlements that he did. And of course, they didn't tell how much they were doing, but they said it was in the neighborhood of what Mr. Kage, each person. So you're talking about 40 million and change. But if you take legal action, they have to sit down and hopefully, I still believe in the legal system to some extent. There are some judges out there. My grandfather was a judge. And he was a fucking very fair judge. Police liked him and citizens liked him. He was fair, but he was hard. And we can have same type of thing. And again, if the case goes south, well, media are all going to know about it because that's the way you do it. You sue, and when you sue, you send out a mass email to all journalists, all politicians in this country. And one of them will bite on the story. And they all know that the other one is going to do it. So they have to go first. They have to say something. And this is what wakes the public consciousness mind. Alive victims don't get protection. Girlfriend is most smelly. The girlfriend is really smelly. I frankly, there are a couple of things I'm looking at that are some fairly solid leads. It's not tinfoil stuff. And some people have, these are people who have authority to answer those questions. So hopefully, here's willing, God willing, we'll get some more truth about that. But again, if we get them in court, we can ask them, why did you protect the girlfriend? Why did you not mention that? Why did you lie in public and say you didn't know about him? Why did you say you didn't know about the police cars? Why did you say that he was still, did you fail to inform citizens for 10 and a half hours? 10 and a half hours that there was a shooting. Why did you know right away that there was a police car involved and you never said anything? Why do we have tapes that have different times on it? Why do we have all these different vehicles? Where is the evidence? Show us pictures of the cars. Show us the autopsy reports. Bang, 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 bang. Trust me. I know enough law. I'd be sitting there, bang, 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 bang. Anybody who would sit in front of me in Discovery got a serious fucking problem, and I would be deposing a ton of people. Ton. And I don't care if you're the superintendent. I don't care if you're Bill Blair. You can depose them to come and they will have to testify. Unless they want to go and cite something stupid like national security, in which case Canadians will start to scratch their heads. National security about a dead man? Please, come on. Anyways, I've been going on almost 2 hours, but this video I think was really good. And sorry I didn't go through all your comments here because you guys are saying lots of good things. And I'll try and go back and watch the video. Do we know? I'll try and get it. I'll do a few questions here. So how about this? Do we know if they all have? So how about this? I put this disclaimer in here right now. I'll answer questions right now, and anybody who just wanted the information that I was feeding can probably stop watching now. Do we know if they have seized all surveillance camera footage from businesses? My assumption would be yes. They have increased the count of the number of witnesses that they have said that they are going to speak to over 500 now. I'm assuming that any business that had surveillance footage, there's some shops when I was, and I drove for like quite a long time on Google Earth. I was like going down the highway, click, 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 click. I don't know how 40 meters per second or something, 40 meters per day. It was absolutely terribly slow. But there's lots of businesses on the side of the road. They are going to have cameras. I mean, some of these cameras that, the ones that I've been able to trace down from some of their surveillance photos or that other people have sent me very kindly, the information on where they are really actually, funnily enough, in some very, not, they're like people's houses or things like that. Like nothing huge. There's some businesses, they're not all red light cameras or whatever. I don't even think you guys have them down there. But private call, we'll get there. Somebody organized a Discord group. I don't know too much about it, but maybe I'll have some more information about that. Again, people who don't know, my Twitter is probably the best way to reach out to me. And I'll try and leave the link in the box below. How did Beaton not know about all this? Wouldn't he be called into battle fires or be put on standby? Is Beaton a firefighter? Sorry, I apologize. I didn't know that Beaton was a firefighter. Interesting. Timelines, I'm going to dig again tomorrow. Thank you. Always continue. Yeah, listen. There are a lot of things here that are questionable and do go into tinfoil areas. Absolutely. And there is stuff that reeks all over the place. But I'm just trying to get just the foot in the door, because that's the start. And that's why I don't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to be labeled, because that immediately discounts it, right? Let's just say it did get somewhere and they were like, oh, those bunch of crackpots over there, all they talk about is space aliens and shapeshifting tunnel dwellers. Then people are like, oh, those people are crazy. Of course, the RCMP, they're already brainwashed into this, right? With the killer wasps and COVID, and they're going to talk about everything else under the sun. So that's why the invention, the idea of the tinfoil and the conspiracy theory, very well planned, again, by think tanks to discount anybody who has any kind of free thought of their own. But it's weird he takes everything back he said about the RCMP, but wants to sue Trudeau. Why the kindness? I'm not sure about who you're referring to. I don't know anybody who's suing Trudeau. They're all bad, but I think that's probably a revelation that some people still believe that, like, oh, I'm going to elect a conservative government and it's going to fix everything. They're all trash. They all get, they have orders. They just follow them. They're all the same. Look at the governments all over the world. In the developed world, they all follow the same playbook. It doesn't matter what party's in place, doesn't matter who it is. Clinton Facebook video. I don't know what that is. Perhaps Mr. Moneypenny. I know that you're following me. Thank you on Twitter. You could send me a link. That would be super. Has that been confirmed? Where's the picture of the gas cans? Because they had no problem showing his clothes. They don't have any pictures of the gas cans. Handy that, right? Of course. But I'm sure they got burned up or something. But yes, it is absolutely confirmed by the RCMP. I could go to the RCMP website right now. Let's see. RCMP accelerant is what they use. Nova Scotia is the words that they use. Kind of, again, just a very vague, ambiguous term. Did not seek help. What is this? That's a very different title than what you had there. During math. Ooh, this is interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking for the articles. Let's bring this window over here. So I was just searching for that article, to which I'll probably find it here in a minute. But this article, they do this a lot, and I'm trying to put together some more demonstrations of that, right? Like I showed the little one here where they do the editing. I'm trying to put something together, but
criminal I am. Still in second after second just cause I know I can. But I can't pretend this is the way it'll stay. I'm just trying to bend the truth. I can't pretend I'm who you want me to be. So I'm running my way from you. I'm turning back now. I need my decide to let me go. I'm turning back now. Let me take back my life. I'd rather play. I'm turning back now. Anywhere on my own, 'cause I can't say no. I'm turning back now. The very worst part of you is me.
I gotta still finish this video, but I just get bogged down with other stuff. But obviously that was the business where he talks about the RCMP totally failed, and there's a second part that I stuck in there too. But anyway, is the editing of articles. So, oops, I got to share this. Sorry. Oh, I didn't even share. My goodness. Look at this. See, this is why I have it operating on the wrong screen. Durr. Okay. So when I was doing a search here just for RCMP accelerant, this is what media does. They alter articles. And it's very interesting to see. During mass shooting, Nova Scotia RCMP didn't see help from, is the title. Right? You click on it. Oh, that's been changed. That's been changed. Who was called to help and who was not? The police resources behind the Nova Scotia shooting. Well, it certainly sounds much more negative here. Now it suddenly gets whitewashed. Where is it here? It would be, it's today. Okay. This is got it in here. Toronto Star should have it. Oh, they're not going to want it probably. Paywall. Okay, this will have accelerant in it. So find accelerant. Here we go. The RCMP release, which I think I have a picture on my computer somewhere of, also said that the fire set by the gunman during the rampage appeared to be aided by, see the vague ambiguity, appeared to be aided by accelerant. Well, what are you talking about? Flaming bags of dog poo? I don't know. Is it gas? Police noted that he had a, quote, significant supply of gas at his house. So yes, they have confirmed that. And then they say that they know who had the decals. Again, they've kind of hinted at the fact other police sources or former police people have said that this was professionally done by the same people who do the RCMP cars. So, tinfoil? I don't know. Talked around going, gas cans. Yeah, see? I mean, it's just logic. A lot of these things is just logic. And if we have the time to think about things and look at things, and I certainly do, and together we can all do this too. Funny how they can put the entire story together, start to finish, but yet can't solve random murder, burglary, or abduction. Well, they can't even seem to figure this one out. That would be because they don't want to figure it out, because it might make them look bad. Clean it up, as little Miss O says. Absolutely. It was right from the start. Right from the start. They're like, oh shit, that guy down on Portapique, that's going to be a problem. How do we deal with this? Oh, get to Twitter. Then we've got plausible deniability. We did inform you. We did tell you about that, Yeah. Cigar guy seems shorter. Okay, so that's pants stuff. Try to contact him if you find me his page. Who is that? Sorry. Send me a friend request on Twitter. Oh, I see. This is a conversation you guys are having. All right. I'm on a BlackBerry. 1 second. I'm saving things now. 1 second. Hopefully people are re-uploading the video somewhere or something. Your video will be gone because of music. Well, I mean, they gone videos. I woke up today, they disappeared another one of my videos. And it's gotten, you know, they were doing this a couple of years ago, and it was really pissing me off. They were deleting videos and not telling me about it. And I was really upset about that because I hadn't violated any of their policies, and it is their policy to have to inform you that they're deleting stuff. And they deleted another one today without telling me. And I'm like, why do you have to keep doing this? That was the second one. There was a couple the other day too. Yeah, this is the second one with no notice. I've gotten other ones, some disappearings. I can share this, right? I have to be back working on the missing women thing. I'm going to soon have to catch up with this after you've been live. Like, catch up. But can I share? Everybody can share. Oh, you can hit that like button. I don't know. I think it does something. But if you share with your friends, this is what I really, because we got to keep it alive, people. We really do. Signatures don't do shite. Sadly, sad but true. In a world that it should, right? If you have people that are voicing displeasure with something, and it's a significant amount of people, you can't really just disregard them and just say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, because that's not who put you in power. That's not who put you in power. Who put you in power is asking you to do certain things. At least consider. I'm with reading people, though. Investigations, communications, laughing out. Just not tech. Well, so I, once again, did a Seamusism. I have to do that every fucking video. Hey, look at what I'm sharing with you. Oh, oops, I forgot. Is my microphone on? I'm just learning Twitter, if you can find me. Little Miss So It All. Are we connected? Let me just have a quick boop. My little tiny Twitter account. I miss my old Twitter account. It was big. I used to do lots of fun things. Barbara. Former neighbor of the gunman. Oh, Bing. Oh, you know, I should put, actually, I don't like to plug myself. I really don't like doing that. It's just not something I like. I was raised like that, you know. Modesty. Do things modestly. Don't ever brag, and hopefully other people, if they find my stuff valuable, word of mouth will help me carry my message. Okay. Just join Twitter also. I'll drop my Twitter link in. How's that? Copy. Paste. I think I can do this one. I think. Apparently, if I want to survive a mass shooting, you need Twitter. I liked Edgy D's video today. It was funny. He said that, it's a bit black humor, but he said that all the 22 victims were tested positive with COVID. So it just furthers their agenda. Stalking me. I'll stalk Aussie Cat next if I can remember how I stalked Gray's house. Nobody stalks me. It's just sometimes aura makes you up for your moments. Seamus moments. I don't know. I just try and keep the brain somewhat going. It's enough trying that. I just learned this watching other videos. The more likes you get, the more chances the suggested videos. Yes. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, and that's why, it is appreciated. And if you like something, it's not that hard to hit the like. It is data mining they're doing, but frankly, shouldn't we be liking these kinds of things? Like letting them know that we're pissed off with this kind of stuff? That's smart. It lets them know that maybe there's some more resistance than they may think. Anyway, I don't want to keep... my streams are very long, and I used to do very more concise videos, let's say, more concise. A lot more data. These are highlighted articles and underlining a lot of work, but streams are good because I get to talk to all of you, right? And I get to hear what your thoughts and things are, because it really kind of gets my stuff going, my gray matter, little gray cells. Does anybody know? One question, absolutely. How is Tara? Oh, yes, I can absolutely update. Tara is doing well, considering things. She's getting really thrashed, sadly, by some people, which is very unfortunate, who are saying some not nice things about her. I know that there's some comments on this channel. I'm not going to, highlight them. I've left them there if people, just so that it's like the public forum. If you want to say something, I always will. I always want to make sure. I heard somebody was censoring comments in the chat, which made me very upset, but I think I may have to talk to that person. But everybody should be able to say whatever they want. And if people are displeased with it, I'm sure that they will hear equally back about it. So, and maybe think twice. But I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of giving them any kind of airplay. But she's doing well. Aside from that, her lawyer is working diligently. Yeah, what the hell was it? He had going something or other. But she is encountering, some difficulties. And the fundraising, she's having a lot of issues with that because just because of this tangible issue that's outstanding, she needs verification of all this stuff and things like that. So she's not getting into these Facebook pages where kind of all of these families are, which is really, really unfortunate. But she's doing well. Yeah. And I said that if she wants, hopefully we can do an update at some time, and kind of just get a rough feel with where she's at raising money and how she's doing. Not getting into any details because I think she's catching heat. And she's worried about that. She's worried about catching heat because of, and rightfully so. It's always nice to see people show their true colors after a tragedy. People you would think that would have your back, but turn on you. Disloyalty really pisses me off. Yeah, death is sad. It does bring out some negative qualities in certain people, which is unfortunate, but we are human. We do err and sin, and that's kind of the way things go, but God will look out for her, if we keep praying for her and doing what we can do. And I think that's what we're all doing here, right? Helping promote her message and the idea of taking a stand against them. Let's say a prayer. Okay. Yes, we can say a prayer. Dear Lord, please help us to do your bidding, to do your will. Watch and protect us with your good grace. Please watch over all the families that have been touched so negatively by this tragedy and many others. Protect them, bring them peace and solace and strength and courage to us all. Help us to take back the world that you so wonderfully blessed us with. Your divinity, your awesome power, that your forgiving heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen, everybody. God bless. Thank you for joining me.